It's the 47th edition of the Tour de Hungría, the Hungarian National Tour, the UCI 2.0 Pro edition event. 5 stages in total for the riders, taking them to Sunday. And the opening stage, absolutely pan flat. Riders prepare for a departure from the spa town of Ula. First representation for this town in its UCI calendar history for Ula. Positioned as it is within just a few kilometers of the Romanian border in the far east of Hungary. Just over 2.5 laps of a 55 kilometer circuit, absolutely pan flat. The riders will make their way to Bekes Csaba. A couple of opportunities to see it before they go for glory at the end of 143 kilometers, just 176 meters of elevation gain across the day. Bekes Csaba, cultural capital of the region, and must visit for those taking the waters in eastern Hungary. Ula Castle, which fended off the visiting hordes, the Ottoman hordes, many centuries ago. Famous siege taking place here, and now the flags fluttering. Colourful location, and a must visit to for tourists and indeed locals in this part of the world, as the riders made their preparation for the start. The 112 riders representing 19 teams in total. Tim Merlier getting plenty of attention. Prepared for glory, the 5 national road race champions had the honour of occupying the front row and leading the riders out into battle. 19 teams with riders from all 6 continents, 29 nations in total. This particular part of the world. Who would ramp it up to success today when the flag came in? Well, immediate activity on the front. Norsgaard decided to take his leave of the peloton, the little trek man, just over 10 kilometers into the day. Racing clear. His teammate Christian Ekholm, and sensing a slight lull in the peloton, that's enabling Ekholm. Dangerous moment, really. Might have just snuffed out the attack of his teammate, but timing that to absolute perfection despite his tender youth. We clearly sensed his moment of perfection, and that means the Lidl Trek squad have 2 riders up front. UAE Team Emirates squad in the front of the main peloton. Their thoughts as about the points classification. This is about the overall GC, and Benoit Cosnefroid is escorted through to the front and through that final bend on the run to the sprint. Nicely judged, nicely timed. Superb job done by Benoit Cosnefroid. The Bahrain Victoria squad, maybe Omersel fancies trying to scoop a bonus second or 2 here, or at least there's only 1 on offer here. So they get the bill with 55 to go. It's Cosnefroid up again. Cosnefroid now with 2 bonus seconds. The 3rd and final intermediate sprint of the day. And Benoit Cosnefroid, can he make it a full house from the main peloton? Ekholm, of course, having led his teammate Norsgaard through from the breakaway. And once again, great job. Ekholm taking all 3 bonus sprints along the way as well. Is going to be well up in the points classification, and of course well up in the overall classification at the end of a productive day. Sudekvist just dangling off the front. 2K to go. Now crowding around. What's the right course of action? Astana sweep to the right-hand side. Alternative view taken by Team Pulte and Modern Adventure Pro Cycling on the other side of the road. Are we going to have a realignment? There's the 2 sides of the bunch. Well, eventually we're going to have a reconnection. A moment. It's Cowdell setting the tempo for the Modern Adventure Pro Cycling team. Pinarello have their man Manetsky He's a former second place overall finisher in this event. And he's setting up in second place at the moment. The UAE Team Emirates squad have multiple representation, including their UAE National Road Race champion, Al Matawi, there to do a bit of a job for them. So multiple riders still available for Juan Sebastian Molano. Molano flies to... Oh no, he stays connected for now. And in and under the kite, Soudal Quick-Step own it at the moment. They've got Bert van den Berge leading Tim Merlier in the pocket just behind the three white jerseys of the UAE Team Emirates squad behind them. They're all looking for Merlier's wheel, and it's a Bahrain Victoria squad trying to place their man Phil Bauhaus into perfect position. Bauhaus dropped off onto the wheel of Tim Merlier and into the closing moments. Inside 500 meters to go. The lead out begins for Juan Sebastian Molano. It's UAE Team Emirates own it. Perfect drop off in prospect as we sweep around the left-hander and into the final, finishing straight. Tim Merlier waiting for his moment on the wheel of Juan Sebastian Molano. Phil Bauhaus on the wheel of Tim Merlier in turn as here comes Merlier. Juan Sebastian Molano has been overtaken by Tim Merlier in the run to the line. I don't think anyone is going to prevent Merlier here. It's Merlier that gets up to take the win ahead of Juan Sebastian Molano. Bauhaus there in close attendance. And fast man, that is Tim Merlier, a European and national road race champion, and his first visit to the Tour of Hungary. Scoops another major international success. Merlier with a perfect launching pad. The UAE Team Emirates squad did everything absolutely perfectly. Molano fending off the rest, but it's Tim Merlier that gets the glory. Really, the issue never in doubt from the moment that Tim Merlier managed to find himself on the wheel of Juan Sebastian Molano with just one lead-out man in front of the Colombian. His third win of the year, accepting the plaudits of the congratulations and no doubt thanking his team. Merlier gets the glory on day one into Bekish Chaba, ahead of Juan Sebastian Molano. Phil Bauhaus on the podium. Buda fine fourth place finish for the Italian ahead of Cantor Parasini. Gaviria fading to seventh, but inside the top 10 ahead of DeLonghi, Taylor Stites, and leading Hungarian rider Balint Karpati getting up to defend home honours into the top 10, but it's Tim Merlier gets the glory on day one. Late start to the season for Tim Merlier, but 3 wins already from just 5 days of racing action. He's tuning up nicely for July and the Tour de France. Another major success claimed, and indeed the first leader's jersey of the week by a single second from breakaway star Christian Ekholm. Thijs Norsgaard sitting in fourth place. And Benoit Cosnefroid also benefiting from the bonus seconds, but it's Merlier in yellow heading into day 2. He also leads the points classification by that 4 points, with Ekholm handily placed if he goes breakaway hunting once again. That's the jersey that you would be hard-pressed to get a bet on that he won't be claiming on the final day of racing action. And the leading Hungarian, Balint Karpati, just 20 years of age in his first national tour, already a visit to the podium. Proud moment for the young Hungarian. 10th on the day as well. Fine sprint performance against some lofty opposition indeed. So Tim Merlier leads as they head towards the second stage from Sarvas to Pax on the Tour of Hungary 2026. Stage 2 of the 47th edition of the Tour of Hungary, and from the shortest stage of the week to the longest. The second day of racing action, fully 206 kilometers. Beautiful conditions for the riders, just nudging 20 degrees Celsius. A brisk breeze from the west set to blow across the riders during the day. Could be interesting as the riders get set to make their way out of Sarvas, the geographical center of historic Hungary. And racing across the great Hungarian plain upon the Koros River out of Sarvas, first mentioned as an ethnic Hungarian town in 1495. 3 intermediate sprints along the way, 1 classified climb. Bonus seconds in each of the intermediate sprints could be interesting. That single ramp up, not particularly long, but coming as it did within 13 kilometers of the finish line. Racing down towards Pax, the nuclear capital of Hungary, home to the only nuclear power station producing a huge and very significant amount of the nation's electrical power. How much power would be in evidence for the riders today. The Shavas Water Theatre playing host to fans. Shavas playing host to Tour of Hungary, a very relaxed looking Tim Merlier. Jersey classification wearers and holders. Balint Karpati, the white jersey, leading Hungarian rider after his 10th place finish on day one, in the company of Merlier, Milano, and Christian Ekholm wearing that Mountains jersey. No Mountains points distributed on day one, but his exploits in the early break flag in and underway, and instantly plenty of activity, particularly as you might expect from the Hungarian national team and the local continental registered teams, the MBH Bank squad, which has plenty of its staff and riders from Italy, but plenty from Hungarian registered team, of course. Through and past the Koros Maros National Park. Many different species of wildlife. Jakob Söderqvist trying his luck for the Lidl Trek squad for the second day in succession. The World Tour team, one of 7 World Tour teams, of course, in the Tour de Hungary. Tour de Hungary wanting to be represented up front. Then the block goes on at the front of the peloton, suggesting that they're happy enough with the composition of a 5-rider group. All of whom start the day at a remove of just 10 seconds, so all of them threats on general classification. Whoa. Depended on the... Well, that's remarkable, isn't it? The Deer, that was a close and a near run thing for, well, all the riders on the front of the peloton, and indeed that poor unfortunate Deer. Ida Bruckere of the Powell's Southern squad launches first, not to be bested. First of our 3 intermediate sprints today. Second sprint of the day, and this time Benito not to be caught out. As De Bruckere and Benito roll around the side of the 18-year-old Mark Varga. Within about 8 kilometers of the third and final intermediate sprint of the day. The yellow jersey of Tim Merlier at the back of the arrowhead, looking cool, calm and collected, in amongst plenty of Soudal Quickstep jerseys. As we see Ekholm in that Red Mountains jersey, looking to add to his total of 9 bonus seconds already gained on the first day of asking. And looking very powerful indeed. Kuznetsov up as well, looked like he scored, so that's more bonus seconds gained by the Frenchman in the white and black jersey of the UAE Team Emirates XRG squad. But those 3 bonus seconds gained, Dainese getting up for second, protecting the interest of Tim Merlier. Meanwhile, behind, things getting a bit of interesting. 25 kilometers to go. Bit of crosswind. Well, the crosswind's been there all day, and it looks as if the UAE team, in the company of Cofidis and Astana, are trying to create a split, and it's starting to work. Riders losing the wheel. Everyone in the gutter on the right-hand side. And just trying to squeeze it a bit at the front. A small group of riders have managed to latch on. How many can stay connected here? The worrying moment, because we're not seeing the yellow jersey. Where is Tim Merlier? Oh, there he is. Tim Merlier has a couple of teammates in front, and no sense of panic just yet. But what can they do about moving up, because they're pouring coal on this one. And as we approach the single classified climb of the day, it's Kuznetsov that starts to step on the gas a bit. Kuznetsov looks as if he's really gulping in air, but he's full of fight. He's the one that created this. top, it looks pretty much inevitable this one's going to come together, certainly as the riders in the peloton link up with the remaining riders from that breakaway group. Down to a select group, just a handful of seconds. Surely this one's going to be knitted together. Just over 4 kilometers remaining. Pax beckons. Who's going to get there first? Well, right now it looks more and more likely that the main peloton are going to close them down. And well, this has been a brave effort, and Cosnefroid is given the signal to go, go, go. Aaron Oliver is going to empty the tank here. He's got Cosnefroid in the pocket, and his own bid having failed, well, he'll recover, go again, and he's making the other grimace on his wheel, and it's having the desired effect. It's towing this group here back over the well, 5-6 second advantage. It's so finely poised. Fortunes of these riders all hanging on a knife edge. There, leading rider here, and Benoît Cosnefroid fourth in line, waiting for his moment to pounce. So on the flat road, approaching the left-hander that will take them on the ramp through to the finish line. They're given a bit of daylight. Perhaps they're all expecting the attack from Benoît Cosnefroid. Cosnefroid was trying to give his teammate just a little bit of breathing room, a little bit of free attacking room. Tunison, mindful of that, cruises up onto the tail of the Portuguese rider. So now into the final kilometre, and onto this final ramp, testing and demanding rise to the finish line in packs today. It is Oliveira from the UAE squad ahead of Mike Tunison, and here goes Cosnefroid. Benoît Cosnefroid off the wheel of the Flying Dutchman, who tries to respond. Will he get there? But Cosnefroid absolutely flat chat. Out of the saddle, nothing held back. 400 meters to go, and Tunison fighting hard to get on the wheel of the Flying Frenchman. I'm not sure he's going to get there, you know. Eric Vetter leaves the rest behind in his bid for what will be a fine top three finish. But I don't think anyone's going to stop Cosnefroid here. Tunison not able to get on terms. Where are the rest of the sprinters from the main peloton behind? Cosnefroid's not going to leave anything behind here as he pushes on. And Cosnefroid launching from the line. Gaviria from the bunch is not going to be able to get there either. Alexis Reynard from the team Cofid is going to be second across the line, but they're all vanquished by Benoît Cosnefroid, who takes victory on stage 2 of the Tour of Hungary. What a stunning performance. Let's see what it means to Juan Sebastian Molano. To arrest after that one. Cosnefroid ahead of Alexis Reynard, Max Canter on the podium, ahead of Maris Gaviria, Merlier getting up for 6th, and Oliver and Tyler Stites for the Modern Adventure Pro Cycling squad, Parasini, and Juan Sebastian Molano at the outer reaches of the top 10. Well, it's a 5th podium of the season, but it's a 2nd victory for Benoît Cosnefroid. All smiles. Not necessarily the plan at the outset of the day, but he has vaulted into the overall lead with a 4-second advantage over Christian Acom, and 16 seconds clear of the big group, including the general classification favourites. It's a nice little head start ahead of the stage 4 bid for overall glory. While Cosnefroid is going to take some beating on this form. Accepts the plaudits and the congratulations of the great and good at the finish line. Eduardo Zamperini into the lead of the mountains classification, something for Cofidis after being pushed into 2nd place on the day. Zamperini will be easier to pick out on day 3. Eric Vetter is the new leader of the Best Hungarian Rider competition. And Tim Merlier has some consolation. He has retained the lead just about of the points classification. Still manages a smile on the finish line. More conventional sprint fare anticipated on day 3 from Kaposvár to Szekesfehérvár. With Benoit Cosnefroid celebrating the second stage of Tour de Hungary. Stage 3 of the 47th edition of the Tour de Hungary in prospect. The riders arriving at the halfway point of this beautiful stage race, and once more racing on fundamentally flat roads with a couple of lifts. 2 King of the Mountains assaults on the way out of Kaposvár, on the way to Szekesfehérvár, heading to wine country, southwestern Hungary. Three intermediate sprints along the way as we reach our most western point part of Hungary. Out of Kaposvár with a short loop before we begin the intermediate sprints classification, and 2 category 3 climbs. Not likely to be a huge challenge to the sprinters. This one billed as clearly one for the fast men, despite the profile. And a significant climb coming some distance from the finish line. Benoit Cosnefroid, resplendent in the yellow jersey and in control of a narrow advantage on general classification. Riders 109 strong peloton getting set to make its way out of Kaposvár Arena. The jersey classification holders, as is ordinarily the case, presented at the front of the peloton, with Eric Vetter, the best Hungarian rider, sharing a moment with Benoit Cosnefroid, stage 2 winner. With 3 stages remaining, Tim Merlier sitting in the green jersey, and Eduardo Zamparini in the red of leader of the King of the Mountains. Flag in and immediate activity, and surprising indeed to see the Powell Southern squad involved in the early skirmishing. Team United Shipping too, local registered team, almost inevitably on the attack in the early moments. A little ramp up at the start of the day just to surprise the riders who hadn't managed to do a decent warm-up. Campana squad as well, Italian registered, but with 2 Hungarian riders in its lineup, eager to show what they were capable of. Adam Reves and Boldazar Zembari could be relied upon to animate the early proceedings. Eric Vetter too, best Hungarian rider in that white jersey, gets set for the first of 3 intermediate sprints, and it's Eric Vetter that is full of fight. Local man taking and claiming first spoils of the day. 5 points towards the points classification, but more importantly for Eric Vetter, white jersey, he's keeping that one ticking over with a 3-second gain ahead of Victor Vercouilly. Eric Vetter alive to the danger there on the run to the first of 2 climbs. Category 3 assault, and super job done by Eric Vetter. $73K to go, and another opportunity for some intermediate sprinting and bonus seconds. Reves leading the charge from the front, trying to find a different way. Vercouilly looking like he was going to get that one, but Vetter just way too strong for the Belgian. Hungarian rider with 6 seconds claimed already, starting the day 16 seconds down. Now has moved up into a virtual top 10 situation, and well, potentially might challenge at the third and final intermediate sprint of the day, but not before Victor Vercouilly at the second of our mountain climbs, second and final climb of the day, finally gets one over Eric Vetter. Owen Reves, the 18-year-old Front wheel washing out. Bess back to the main peloton. Final sprint opportunity available for these riders, and more bonus seconds. And Victor Vercouy is part of that cohort of riders starting the day. Just 16 seconds down on the race leadership, so all three of them ostensibly, or at least in a virtual sense, ahead of Benoit Cosnefroy, the overall race leader. Now Bauke Mollema has gone a rating, and Victor Vercouy just dances up onto the back wheel of the Dutch veteran. Now Bauke Mollema has packed that one in. He's not going to get to Victor Vercouy, who will have the honour of being last man standing. So that's definitely not quite as big a peloton as it was striking out at the beginning of the stage. 109 riders began the day with hopes of being involved at the finish line. That's a group that will press on to try and get back on terms. Jaco Alula's handed over to the Soudal Quick-Step squad. Victory on day one. Vanquished on day two, not present and missing out in the splits in the wind. So I'm going to fix that one down to this tricky little left-hander with 1,300 meters remaining. Really committed ride through that bend by Yves Lampart of the Soudal Quick-Step squad. Opens up a few bike lengths of an advantage. Is he going to want to maintain that? Look over his shoulder. Gets the signal that he needs, that it's well worth riding here. Who's going to do the chasing? Soudal Quick-Step trying to set up a lead out. This is even better. It'll mean others have to chase, and well, Tim Merlier will sit in the pocket and waiting for his moment to shine. Third in line from the bunch with his teammate Yves Lampart out front at the moment. So the Lidl Trek squad doing the chasing. Bert van der Berge just moves up and eases up onto the right-hand side of the road as they prepare for the left-hander with 500 meters remaining. Van der Berge trying to protect his sprint talent. Tim Merlier, and doing a really solid job. Indeed, they have two riders in front. Lampart just overhauled at that moment. Le Berg will move to the right-hand side. Tim Merlier tiptoes round the outside and into the final 500 meters. All the leading contenders, indeed, just about everyone, safely through that one. And on the drag race to the line, Fernando Gaviria launching on the right-hand side of the road. Fernando Gaviria for the Carrera squad with 450 meters to go, already out of the saddle and gunning for glory. Max Canter from the Astana squad is going to be overhauled by Tim Merlier, but will Merlier be able to get to Gaviria? Gaviria just hanging on, or will he? Because here comes Tim Merlier. Tim Merlier just in the nick of time, makes it 2 victories from 3 days. Juan Sebastian Milano also much in evidence in the run to the line, but it's Tim Merlier that records another victory. 4 wins from 7 days of racing action. He's almost apologetic as he realizes how much that would have meant to Fernando Gaviria, and what a big reach out it was. A long range sprint from the Colombian. Still not enough to prevent Tim Merlier as we get the overhead and into the closing moments. This with over 400 meters to go. Gaviria already on the pedals. Max Canter spots the danger, but isn't able to get the wheel of the flying Colombian rider. And the German rider in the sky blue colors of Astana is passed in pretty urgent fashion by both Tim Merlier and Juan Sebastian Milano. Merlier gets there just in the nick of time. 71st career success for Tim Merlier, the 33-year-old Belgian rider. Shake of the head indeed from Fernando Gaviria, but it's Tim Merlier that gets the victory ahead of the Colombian duo Gaviria and Milano. Max Canter hangs on for 4th ahead of DeLonghi, Oliver, Buda, Reynard, Einhorn and Davide Persico. 4 wins from 2026, late start of the season, but he certainly got going in fine fashion, hasn't he? And it's more glassware, second time of asking this week, and his first visit to the Tour de Hungría. Tim Merlier into the overall race lead ahead of the penultimate stage of the race by just 4 seconds from Benoit Cosnefroy, Milano Vercouy, Gaviria, Reynard, Norsgaard, and the rest. A mixture of sprinters and breakaway riders in that general classification, but it's Cosnefroy who's lurking in second place, leading GC contender. Tim Merlier, though, has a commanding position in the head of the points category. 12 points to the good ahead of Max Canter and Gaviria. Great consistency showed by all 4 riders at the top. Koznapov too has scored well in that one. Green jersey, though, looks secure on the shoulders of Belgium's Tim Merlier. And the Mountains classification led by Victor Vercouy, surviving and level on points with Eric Vetter, surviving towards the front of the race at the end. Vercouy resplendent in red ahead of the stage 4 with 4 opportunities to gain points on the penultimate stage. Attila Valter now into the lead of the best Hungarian rider classification as Eric Vetter lost over a minute and a half on the day. The hero of Hungarian cycling, can he swap white for yellow on day 4? Huge star in these parts. First year with the Bahrain Victoria squad. Could he record a second victory in his home race? It's Tim Merlier that will lead the riders into stage 4 of the Tour de Hungary 2026. The stage set on the 4th and penultimate stage of the 47th edition of the Tour de Hungary for the general classification contenders to strut their stuff. A difficult day in prospect for the riders, making their way out of Mohacs to the familiar destination. The ramp up out of the finishing time of Pécs, always a demanding one. Beautiful town of Mohacs playing host to the Tour de Hungary for the first time. Southernmost host city in the history of Tour de Hungary. Celebrating this year the 500th anniversary of the Battle of Mohacs. The right bank of the Danube. Somewhat truncated course in prospect for the riders. A 41-kilometer loop in grey down the bottom of your screen. And removed from the parcours for the riders. But the meat of the affair, the climb out of Pécs, still very much part of the agenda. So they make their way through to the university town, the 5th largest city in Hungary, on the slopes of the Meshek Mountains, the country's southwest, close to the border with Croatia. Day 4 getting underway in dank and difficult conditions, in sight of more stunning and extraordinary places of worship in this part of the world. And the peloton, 109 riders available for duty, representing the 19 teams, 7 of them at World Tour level. Final ceremonies complete, and Tim Merlier resplendent in the yellow jersey, the overall race leader, but the scant margin of 4 seconds from the GC favourite Benoit Koznapov. 2 stage victories for Merlier during the week. Also leads the points classification. That jersey worn today by Max Cantor on behalf of Tim Merlier. And a remarkable start to the day as well when the flag came in. Dreary conditions, not much more than 10 degrees Celsius for the riders throughout the day. And a brisk start to the proceedings to warm the core as Max Cantor and others galloping up the road, and that's not the first piece of wildlife that has decided to play chicken with the main peloton on this occasion. No harm, no foul, so to speak. Plenty of work done at the front of the peloton by the Bahrain Victoria squad, representing the interests of Attila Valter, the 2020 winner of this race, and very much the local superstar. 15% in places, almost 11% on average across the 1.9 kilometers. And of course, the 4th and final time up, the plan is to go right for the final 500 meters that will stretch out this hill to 2.4 kilometers. Adrian Benito representing for Team Polti Visit Malta, and a great chance to unseat, indeed immediately goes into the lead of the mountains competition. Red jersey. Max Cantor jettisoned from the breakaway, the man wearing that green jersey underneath his black gilet. Dropped on the first assault and ascent of the Pécs climb. Zuccarello makes an effort and makes his way back on, and we're a trio once again as Benito takes the 10 points, now goes to 20 points. Tim Merlier's at the back, no surprise, the overall race leader. Main peloton, such as it is, a much reduced group of course, but yeah, Oh, and down in a big way, and that is one of the riders from Team Jacob Alula, splashing his way under the arm coat through and missing out on those uprights, so that's something. But clearly through and down, a little bit of a drop there. Not sure how far down that greenery does drop, but quite the precipice. Let's have a look at this again. So two riders from Soudal Quick-Step clear. The first of the riders, Callan O'Brien, I think, from the Jacob Alula squad. Oh, through the gap, leaving his bike behind. And, well, there he is, Callan O'Brien. He's come back up from the ditch, and as you can see, there's quite the drop-off on the left-hand side into the trees. I'm not sure how far up he had to go, or had to come, but great to see at least that Callan O'Brien is sitting upright. And there's Soudal Quick-Step rider down. Clearly he's off his bike as well as another rider who's potentially been in the ditch and over and into the trees on the other side. It's Yves Lampart that, well, it's great to see him back on his legs, but that another potential frightening moment for the former Belgian national road race champion. Let's get a look at this again. This is the Yves Lampart crash in actual fact. We saw Lampart back on his feet, but he too going through the armco. There you go, this confirmation. Final lap is cancelled. So here's a huge opportunity. We're down to the final 4 kilometers. That is absolutely massive. By removing the final loop around Page, and one more climb up the challenging and demanding 1.9 kilometer climb. The main peloton, or the group of favourites, now find themselves fighting a rearguard action because it's advantage Söderqvist. Martin Dina in those Hungarian national champions colours. A rider who's been 10th on this equivalent stage actually back in 2023. He was 13th last time we visited Page in 2024. And the UAE squad, well, a little bit of panic, as you might imagine, for Benoit Cosnefroy. Needs to try and get back in command of this situation. Zuccaratu starting to feel the pinch a little bit. He's the first to wilt of our trio as we arrive onto the final climb. It's looking good for the duo out front. Looking very good indeed. Radical alteration to the course today. The right decisions, I think, given the inclement weather conditions and the challenges that riders were facing. Treacherous racing conditions. And indeed, the race organisers have all sorts of considerations. Not sure how many ambulances they had available and all sorts of other things they might have to think about. Luc Plapp now hits the front. But now we see Söderqvist moving on ahead of Adrian Benito. The Spaniard just not enough power available. Benoit Cosnefroy now imagined himself to be defending a GC advantage, having started the day second, and would have understood that Tim Merlier was unlikely to be part of this group. That's as it's proved. Unfortunately for him, the fly in the ointment is that Söderqvist is clear and potentially racing to stage honours and more. After a brave effort in the breakaway, just 2 out front from the riders who ventured forth, and under the kite with 1,000 metres remaining, Jakob Söderqvist. Well, they've got that extra little 500 metres tacked on at the end, and it's just an opportunity for Jakob Söderqvist to celebrate this moment. He's done the needful from the early break, aided somewhat by the change in parcours, but who would have bet against him surviving for victory? He's done it though. He's taken the glory on day 4. It's Jakob Söderqvist. Adrian Benito crossing the line in second place. Easily the best performance and the biggest result of his young and emerging career. Up and into pro team status, and now this major second place is third across the line. Luc Plapp from the GC Fraves ahead of Le Cerf and Benoit Cosnefroy. Meanwhile, already drying out Tim Merlier. Well, it's been a while, and he's made it to the finish line. Final moments of a long raid in the breakaway, a successful one. Relief, joy, ecstasy, finally unleashed by Jakob Söderqvist. Söderqvist confirmed as winner of the stage ahead of Adrian Benito. Luke Plapp getting up for third from the GC group ahead of Le Cerf Kuznetsov. Glory for Jakob Söderqvist, major international success in his first year with full professional honours with the Lidl Trek squad. He's a name for the present, he's a name for the future. He's got the glassware to celebrate. He's got great memories of Paige. Söderqvist provisionally into the overall race lead by 40 seconds ahead of the final stage from Benoit Kuznetsov and Luke Plapp up to third. Le Cerf, Vancello, Calzone, Pericas and the rest all profiting on a tough day for the riders. Proud day for the young Swedish rider. And Tim Merlier hanging on to the lead of the points classification. He'll have a green jersey to wear on the final day of racing action. Max Cantor went in the break, didn't manage to close the gap. So it remains a manageable 12-point advantage for Merlier. Kuznetsov could potentially threaten, but Merlier chasing a shot at a treble on the final day of racing. And Adrian Benito's exploits in the breakaway rewarded with the lead of the mountains classification. Second place on the day. What a man, first-year pro. Huge moment for him, his visit to Pécs. Attila Valter, 11th on the day, and the leading Hungarian rider, besting Marton Dina, putting 16 seconds into him on that final climb in Pécs to hang on to his lead in the white jersey classification. The local superstar, always a popular figure, finally arriving on the podium. Well, just one stage remaining around the shores of Lake Balaton for the riders as they go in search of glory, the Tour de Hungary 2026. So to the fifth and final stage of the Tour de Hungary 2026, relatively short thrash of 147 kilometers for the riders out of the shores of Lake Balaton, heading towards Veszprém. Balaton Almaty, popular resort town on the northern shore of Lake Balaton in Veszprém County. Growth of town closely linked to the opening of the railway back in 1909. A fifth stage with almost 2,000 meters of elevation. Plenty of grippy ascents to challenge the riders, and the wind due to blow as well, with gusts in excess of 60 kilometers an hour and wind conditions minimum of about 30 kilometers an hour in the exposed areas. Plenty of opportunity for some echelon racing on the road to Veszprém on the final day of action on Tour de Hungary 2026. Destination Veszprém. 97 riders reporting for duty from the 100 which had completed yesterday's fourth and penultimate stage at the local bike path in Balaton Almaty, and the local dignitaries delighted once again to play host to the national stage race on the shores of the largest lake in Central Europe. And Jakob Söderqvist all smiles yesterday after his stage 4 success. The more serious visage presented to the crowd and the local dignitaries at the start line. Anxious perhaps about what awaits. The wind added to the challenges of the terrain, certainly getting the attention of the young Lidl Trek rider. Getting set to do battle one final time. Flag in the early stages, and naturally enough, rain jackets abound in the main peloton. Group of 7 assembling at front. Nikias Arndt, perhaps the best known rider, the sprinter and sprint lead at for the Team Bahrain Victoria squad, a very experienced German rider. Vetter across the line. Vetter claims another 10 points and moves up into the lead of the King of the Mountains, seemingly now heading and destined for a trip to the final victory podium. Benito reveals that red jersey, for now at any rate, seemingly won't be his by the end of the day. A little bit challenging as the winds start to blow and the riders fan out into echelon formation. This significant group, and Jakob Söderqvist has made it into this split at the front of the peloton. UAE Team Emirates XRG also well represented. They've got Andrea Perikas, a little anxious look over his shoulder. Söderqvist in yellow is, as far as I can see, the only Lidl Trek represented in here, so looking a little bit vulnerable, but able to answer the questions as they have been asked. Chris Nyland's there as well for the NSN squad. Clap moves back towards the right-hand side, squeezes it as the jersey's down. Söderqvist is down. The overall race leader hits the neck. Quickly back on his bike, doesn't seem to have sustained any injury. Is the bike in any way implicated? Let's get a look at that again. Clap squeezing across to the right-hand side, as is often the way. Looked like it was a touch of wheel there, possibly with Perikas, and well, frustration for the overall race leader, but what's it going to do to his advantage? Remember, Cosnefroy and Luke Plapp present at that moment, avoiding action from Benoit Cosnefroy. The overall race leader quickly hoovered up by the Lidl Trek-led peloton. They go to the front. They immediately start driving on the front. They recognize the danger of this moment. And indeed, it looks as if Cosnefroy has also been delayed. Chris Nylands drills it on the front. Severchek and Luke Plapp. Inside 5 to go, and the gap down to 11 seconds. And the yellow jersey group slowly but surely inching their way back towards this trio up front. The Slovakian rider goes to the front once more with 2 kilometers remaining. Plapp still clear of the peloton. What a pursuit race this is turning out to be. Few sprinters starting to limber up behind, waiting for the catch to be made, but it hasn't yet been made. Inside 2 to go. Where are the other riders to finish this one off? Well, there are plenty of riders in there. Well, what sort of resource have they got after a long, tough and wearying week? The peloton starting to close down, and leaving the peloton, the Astana rider, this Teunissen, looks like it could well be. Mike Teunissen charges out. The Dutchman performed a similar act a couple of days ago. The UAE's setting up stall in the front of the peloton, and they're going to close this one down. It's going to come down to a sprint amongst the fast men. It's gone down, and it's the late catch, but it is the big peloton that will decide inside the final 500 meters. And Gaviria down towards the bottom of your shot, waiting for his moment to shine. Dainese on the right-hand side just starts to make his bid for Soudal Quickstep. That's Alberto Dainese, and Tim Merlier, his teammate in the green jersey, was just trying to work his way up, finds his way under the tail of Fernando Gaviria. Gaviria's going to try and close this one down, but Dainese's clear into the final 200 meters. Dainese, does he have enough in hand? Here comes Gaviria, and here comes Tim Merlier. Tim Merlier on the run to the line. Tim Merlier's going to make it a triple. That's the green jersey retained. Alexei Reynard first up to congratulate the stage winner. Another second place secured for the Cofidis man, but it's a 3-victory visit to the Tour de Hungary for the first time for Tim Merlier. Fernando Gaviria not quite able to hang on, but a man who did hang on, Jakob Söderqvist, straight over to congratulate, or at least thank, Christian Ekholm. All-round team performance, that. Great moment for Bauke Mollema to be part of an overall winning team. So we get a look at the overhead and freewheel single arm salute. Familiar one, isn't it, for Tim Merlier? Alberto Dainese lifts his right arm. And Soudal Quickstep. And indeed, Lidl Trek with much to celebrate. There's the finishing order at the conclusion of stage 5 into Weesbrem. Merlier from Alexei Reynard, Fernando Gaviria on the podium once again ahead of Dainese, Cantor, Reisberg, Oliver, Borgo, Bessigan, Arvanitu into the top 10. But it's Tim Merlier that's celebrating yet another stage victory. Hits just keep on coming for the Flying Belgian. There's the finishing order at the conclusion of stage 5 into Weesbrem. Merlier from Alexei Reynard, Fernando Gaviria on the podium once again ahead of Dainese, Cantor, Reisberg, Oliver, Borgo, Bessigan, Arvanitu into the top 10. But it's Tim Merlier that's celebrating yet another stage victory. Much to celebrate for Tim Merlier. Typical pragmatism from the Belgian, but he's got yet another win. Glory for Jakob Söderqvist. The overall win is secured frightening moment for the young Swedish rider. In the end, glory and much to celebrate. Tim Merlier extending his advantage on the final day. Comfortable win in the points classification, as you might expect from very consistent Max Cantor, Fernando Gaviria. Tuning up nicely for the battles to come. Says he hasn't got his best form yet. What's he going to be like when he does? Celebrations as well for the local riders. Eric Vetter going in the break on the final day, claiming the King of the Mountains title. First Hungarian to win that title since 2020. A red jersey, the classification jersey from his home national tour. Proud moment. And of course the best Hungarian rider as well. Title awarded to Attila Valter. A huge moment, huge celebration. Moment of national pride as all the jerseys presented on the final podium. Team Polti Visit Malta squad won the team classification. The one that really counts is that yellow jersey. That goes to Jakob Söderqvist, the overall winner of Tour de Hungary 2026.